Has unfolded here at America's National Park of Speed, Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, as we are set for round 10 of the Pirelli GT4 America Sprint Championship. Hi everybody, I'm Greg Kramer, joined as always by Calvin Fish, and as we always have, Ryan Marine down in the pits and on the pre-grid. And this place, this time of the day yesterday, was awash, but it is a beautiful morning here, and this is what makes this track all the more special when you get to run it in these conditions.
It's a special place, Greg. I fell in love with it on my first visit here back in 1985, and the racetrack itself hasn't changed a lot in that time, although they continue to improve the facility for all of the races and the fans. But as you look at the racetrack here, the first sector here is really all about speed. Yes, you've got to get through turn 1 and turn 3, but two big chunks of the straightaway there, and then the middle sector is all about handling, and this is where I feel you've really got to have downforce and good handling in the car to get the overall lap time. You've got some big brake zones, and the handling and balance has to be there for a 4-mile lap. So it's a wonderful place, lots of challenges, and just great to be here. I mean, sunny today, and if you're out there watching this race, there's not a better place to be.
Absolutely. Huge speed, huge consequence, and just phenomenal challenge. Here's a look at the cars on the grid getting ready to go. Let's talk some points. Let's talk what's unfolded so far this season. Last 6 races been all Michael Cooper, and a lot of that has come from his starts.
Yeah, I mean, the car's found its sweet spots. The second year with the McLaren for the Black Dog Speed Shop group, and they're on the home circuit, but he's been on a tear of late. It seems like he can't do anything wrong, and going for his 7th consecutive victory here today. And he's been up on the wheel, and McLaren seems to have a little bit of an edge in terms of overall performance over Spencer Pumpelly's Porsche right now, but he's maximizing that. The team is executing. They're ticking all of the boxes, and I think you got a challenge here today. I mean, Spencer had the fastest lap yesterday, so that puts him on the pole position. So I think Michael recognizes that. It's a little bit cooler conditions, high 60s right now, ambient temperature, and that may help the Porsche a little bit. But I think for Spencer Pumpelly, he recognized the fact that McLaren has a little bit more top-end speed, and that's hard to really thwart around this racetrack for 4 miles with several big high-speed sections.
He needs to lead out of turn 1. I mean, that's step 1 for him to be able to get that done. When you take a look at the AM category, as there's a look at Michael Cooper, who is just on form in that White Helmets Black Dog machine. Take a look at the AM category. Coming into this, we were thinking, all right, Michael Dinan, who'd had a heck of a streak going, but he had some competition, especially from Paul Terry at Sonoma and Burton as well. Yeah. So, okay, were they going to be able to close things up and go after it? And Dinan responded beautifully in yesterday's race.
He really did. Didn't have a great qualifying run, but cut to the front very, very quickly. And he's had 6 wins on the year as well, not consecutive like Michael Cooper, but that's given him a massive 47-point lead over Paul Terry in this championship right now. But as we said, the Reardon Racing Group with Paul Terry and Jeff Burton have really found their feet with this Aston Martin that they switched to this year. And they scored the last 2 victories at Sonoma, the last 2 of a triple-header weekend. So they're on form, and it should set up for a fascinating battle here today.
Terry got fastest lap in yesterday's race, so he will start on pole in the Reardon Racing Aston Martin, the Paul Terry trucking entry. Dinan will start second, though, and is right there in that number 210 Flying Lizard Aston Martin. Unfortunately, Ray Mason, who had a really, really good lap in yesterday's race, would have started third. He and Burton having that come together down in Canada Corner. Both cars severely damaged. I doubt either are going to make it. You see the open space there for Mason, confirming that. And then you see in that behind that open space, Jeff Courtney. This is home for Jeff. He's a Wisconsin guy, and he would love to put together a good run here in Am at his home track. Speaking of home tracks, Tony Gaples, nice to have him back behind the wheel. And did he respond with a run yesterday?
He had a great run, was enthralled in that battle with Burton and Mason, and came out on top as those 2 guys took each other out there, unfortunately, down into Canada Corner. But great to see Tony back. He ran the opening rounds at COTA and a couple of podium finishes there, but had eye surgery, 7 different surgeries on both eyes over the course of that hiatus that he had to take. And he's back on home soil. He loves this place, and the podium run yesterday will give him a lot of momentum for today.
And then you just saw Christopher Gumprecht. Nice to have him back. Ran at VIR. There you see where Burton should be, and he's not. But also Clennon looks to be absent from this field, and that wasn't an incident. That was something mechanical on the car. But then here's the number 48. We were wondering if Jason Hall was going to be running. He's made it and is out. He didn't run yesterday, so nice to see him on the grid for this one.
Yes, it is. And there's Spencer Pumpelly. Has had This is his 5th pole position now for the year.
Yeah.
But he's frustrated, and I texted with him this morning, and I sensed a degree of frustration in his text responses. So I'll be curious to see. He recognized this championship is getting away from him, and I expect him to be pretty feisty in his defense with Michael Cooper here this morning.
I'll tell you, that is an all-pro front row, isn't it?
Yeah, and
those two guys.
Yes, and we expected that, really picking up from last year's battle that included Ian James, who ultimately won the championship. But Drew Stavely has certainly been up to the task in coming over from his AM championship win last year. Had a win at COTA in the opening rounds of the championship, and he always seems to be there. But he's having to dig really deep as well. I think as this season starts to build,
right,
you know, Pumpelly and Cooper just continuing to raise the bar. And I think Drew and the G3 and Ian Lacey Racing Group have got to respond to that to try and keep on par with these guys.
He certainly had speed yesterday, but down into turn 5, got those right side tires up on what may have still been a little bit of a damp curb, and in the braking zone, and just snapped around on him going into 5, and he was able to gather it up, but he's got work to do today. Jason Hall, he is a student, if you will, of Jason Hart, who was the sort of in-house driver coach for NOLA Sport, but he's been getting personal coaching as well from Jason Hart. And he said this was, the target was for him to get ready to be able to maybe run at a pro racing level. He's been doing a lot of the Porsche Club Trophy West Series races, just trying to get comfortable in these cars. And they decided maybe it's time. And I'll tell you, make your pro debut in Road America. That's a double blessing.
It is. You know, I just love this place. I fell in love with it, as I said, when I first came here back in the mid-'80s, and it continues to grow on me. Every time I drive through the gates, it's like, wow, it's so great to be back here. And I think all of the drivers feel the same way. There's so many great venues that we visit on our circuit, Greg, but I think this would have to be at the top of the list, or definitely in the top 3 for every driver out there. I mean, no one comes to Road America and say, I don't enjoy this place.
Yep, America's Nürburgring. Let's check into the pits and welcome Ryan Marine.
Good morning, guys. You were talking about Hall in that NOLA Sport car, and he was not on the grid for yesterday's sprint race, but as you guys discussed, this is his debut at the pro racing level, and he opted to not make his debut in really treacherous conditions. Remember, as you alluded to earlier, the sprint race yesterday was held in the rain, and I think a wise choice to watch that one from the sidelines and prepare himself here for race number 2. One other note here, you might have noticed for the second straight day, no Jarrett Andretti on the grid, and unfortunately that's because the Andretti Autosport team had problems earlier in the week and really were only able to get one of their 2 cars prepared, and with that in mind have decided to direct their focus towards their Sprint X effort, given the fact that they are very much in the championship hunt over there. And as a consequence, we don't expect to see Jarrett in a sprint race until the season finale at IMS later on this year. So that's a bit of a shame. It leaves us with 3 cars in the pro class, but that battle at the front is going to be fantastic. They're the front row of this race here as well.
Yeah, you're right about that, and you're also right about it being a real shame, because Andretti is a racer. And he gets after it right away. He's hard but fair, and we're going to miss him running here. And you can see again, we talked about it in Sonoma, Drew Stavely on his start laps, but also on his restart laps. He really almost locks up those fronts. You can see some smoke out there. And that was just Stavely, but it sure makes him able to turn in, I guess, early in the going. It's interesting. Here he does it again.
It's quite bizarre. I mean, a lot of the drivers will run the gas pedal and the brake pedal hard against each other, just trying to get some temperature build-up through the brakes. And you see, that is so bizarre. I can't believe he's just flat-spotting tires like that.
Yeah. I'm going to have to get an answer from him on how that plays out. And, of course, the field coming up to take the green flag here for round 10. 50 minutes of competition in the traditional World Challenge sprint format here in Pirelli GT4 America Sprint. And there we go. And Terry tried to get the jump and time it. Pumpelly and Cooper side by side, and Pumpelly didn't get the run. Cooper, we know that McLaren's good in a straight line. Cooper likes the outside line. He drifts across. Pumpelly thinks about diving down the inside, can't get it done. And look at Dynan sweeping around, picking up 3rd. And Stavely ramping around Terry, grabs 4th.
Good start for Jeff Courtney there. Big move down to the inside, and Pumpelly's going to be frustrated by that. Look for him to try and make a move here on relatively cold tires. There's Drew Stavely there, trying to make a move on the inside of Michael Dinan through turn 3. Terry right behind him.
He had to check up a little bit, Stavely did, and I thought that might give Terry the run. And Courtney continued that great start. Cal got underneath Gaples, but then Tony was able to do the over-under and get him back on
Pumpelly to the
exit.
inside.
Oh!
He's going for it. Can he clear him? No, didn't make it stick.
Gave it a go, though.
I just believed that there's a frustration factor that is building with Spencer Pumpelly right now, and he's got to try and make a move. But as we say that, Michael Cooper is inching away even on this opening lap.
Well, this is going to be a mano-a-mano duel for sure. Then Dinan. And if Stavely can clear Dinan and he's got any speed, see what he can do if he can get to those two guys in front. But I think the frustration, as you pointed out, of Pumpelly and his skill set and the determination by Cooper and his skill set, these two guys may be up kind of in a little different level today.
Yeah, and I think for Spencer, he just says there's nothing I can do against a car that's got so much more straightaway speed than me. And talking to Michael, he recognizes they got a slight edge. I mean, obviously, both drivers have vastly different opinions in terms of how big that, that margin is. But Spencer, they're looking to the inside. He's got to be aggressive. This championship is definitely getting away from him. He's got to try and make a move here.
Impressive how close Dinan is and Am is staying with those guys up front, keeping Stavely behind him. All right, completing the first lap through 14.
They're literally driving the wheels off that car through turn 14. Looks like he's rolling a bit more speed, but then it will equalize. Talking to Michael, he really feels it's acceleration off the corner that's the biggest advantage with the McLaren over the Porsche, but when I look at it here, it definitely looks like he's stretching maybe half a car length there on the latter stages of this front straightaway. And Spencer's right there a little bit later on the brakes. He recognizes it's now or never, I feel, before Michael Cooper gets into his rhythm here today. Dinan is not going away. They're not gapping Michael Dinan by much here.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you know, Pumpelly has to get in front, and that means he may have to use those Pirellis a little bit harder to do it. And the longer it takes him to get to the front, then he may not have as much to deal with at the end. So, I mean, it's such a balancing act, isn't it?
You see Spencer staying with him. Will be late on the brakes, but too far back to even think about it. Just got to try and widen this radius through turn 5. And Michael Cooper says this is a really good racetrack for the McLaren. Obviously, the long straightaways help. And he said also the 90-degree turns. You're not really getting into the electronic aids too much with the McLaren, which sometimes can be a little bit detrimental. He said it just works out really well for the flow of this car around this circuit.
Dinan, as you said, staying right with them, keeping Stavely behind him. Then Terry, and Gaples, as you said, up into back into 6th overall, 3rd in class. There's Tony in his return. So great to have him back. He has been he's one of the few guys with, I think he's over 150, pushing 200 starts in World Challenge. Just been, he and the team have been a massive supporter of this championship for a long time, and this is home. He is loving it. Here's Quinlan in the Stephen Cameron BMW. Then Courtney's dropped another spot. Quinlan has gone through on Jeff in that wreck stuff Mercedes.
Quinlan's been up on the wheel here this weekend. He's been very competitive. Unfortunately, they had a radiator leak yesterday in the Sprint X competition, he and Greg LaFuge, so didn't get the result they were looking for then, but nonetheless, he's been towards the top of the timesheets all weekend long here at Road America. And this is another driver. We talk about young drivers progressing in front of our eyes over the course of a couple of seasons. We're certainly seeing a lot of the AM drivers, guys like Sean Quinlan, getting better and better and just gaining the confidence, much like Michael Dinan has done this year aboard the Aston Martin for Flying Lizard Motorsports.
Absolutely. Back to the front. Spencer's, this is as close as we've seen him. Is he going to try it? He wants to.
He is a lot closer. I'm not sure if Cooper's got an issue right now, but they're certainly not gapping Dinan and company as quickly as I thought they would, and Spencer is all over him. He looks to the inside. That's a late move. Can't quite get there. That's going to cost him a little bit of exit speed, possibly. Bit of a problem here for Pumpelly as he's got to watch his rearview mirrors. He can't just go on the attack and not think about what's behind him because Dinan is really close. Just seems that Michael Cooper's maybe struggling a little bit for pace here this morning compared to earlier this weekend.
Well, it's a lot cooler. We talked about that. Did they maybe get it just a little wrong on tire pressure?
It's possible. Maybe they're just not building. He hasn't found the sweet spot yet to get the balance in the race car, but has given Spencer some opportunity here. And as much as you want it, you just recognize from the experience and professional level that Spencer has, you can't just outbrake someone from too far back. You know, your instinct just kicks in and you recognize that the picture doesn't look right.
Yes. And one thing you should know well as a pro is you got to finish. And trying something like that and that picture doesn't look right, knowing if you follow through with it, it could end in tears. I'm impressed with Paul Terry there. He's sticking relatively close to this queue as well. He's stepping up from touring cars right at the sharp end of the AM class here in GT4 Sprint.
Yeah, times are really close. I mean, the top 5 drivers out there all running laps within 0.2 of a second of one another. Pumpelly just laid down the fastest lap of the race on that previous run around here at 2:19.1 compared to everyone else running 2:19.2s and 3s. You can see no real gaps developing amongst the top 5 right now.
Once again, this is Pumpelly has got to try and get some kind of a draft. At that time, Cooper looked like he got through 14.
That's what Michael's talking about. He just gaps Pumpelly a little bit there through the early gear acceleration up the front straightaway. Maybe about a car length there, and it seems like here it's pretty stable. And maybe Spencer with the draft effect gets a little bit closer by the time they get to the middle pedal. Oh, he really rolled big speed there.
Yes, he did.
I think Cooper's struggling a bit with the balance of the car. He did not get through turn 1 very quickly. He's holding the middle of the road here. Yeah, Cooper's car does not look to be hooked up here this morning, certainly in these early stages. Pumpelly had a huge roll of speed through turn 1.
Well, he got Cooper protected down into 3, and this time Pumpelly was able to ramp 3. As you can see, at the end of the Marine sweep here, Cooper's got that half car length that he ekes out.
Got so much poise, though, even when he's struggling a little bit, he just places the race car right in the exact spot on the racetrack to make it really tough for Spencer to make a move. It's a real chess game going on right now.
Here's turn 7 again, full commitment, off camber all the way to the exit. I think Terry has closed up a little bit on the back of Stavely.
Terry was actually the fastest driver of the top 5 cars there on that previous lap at 2:19.4, but certainly Michael Cooper is not increasing his pace right now. I just think right now at this stage of the race is where the tires would really be in their best shape. Right. Ambient temperatures starting to sneak up a little bit, but still a relatively cool, beautiful day here at Road America.
Stavely now starting to show the nose on occasion to Dynan. They had thought at Sonoma that they had a really good setup on the car. I'm talking about for Stavely. Spencer thought about it again, that they had found a way for the car to have speed without taking much out of the tires on an incredibly abrasive track. And maybe Stavely's thinking, I've got a car here that can do this. I just got to get by Dynan.
Yeah, and you got 2 classes intermixed here. You got the pros with Cooper, Pumpelly, and Stavely running 1st, 2nd, and 4th on the road. Then the 2 AM leading contenders. Dynan leads that class, 3rd position overall, and Terry 5th on the road. As you can see him tails away up this front straightaway. And Spencer's just hanging a little bit closer to Cooper. If he can get a better run through turn 1 like he did on that previous lap and just position his car a little bit differently on the approach to turn 3, maybe he can do something with it. Watch him roll speed through there, but Michael's going to move to the middle of the road probably as they get down towards the brake zone.
You almost wonder if it would have been better for Spencer to have about a car length that turn into 1 so he could roll that speed. And then if Cooper moved to defend, go to the outside, and if he doesn't, dart to the inside.
I'm not sure if Michael had a little bobble on the previous lap, but he seemed a little bit cleaner through turn 1 there. Not such a big delta between the 2 cars in terms of their apex speed. Maybe Cooper's car is just starting to come in.
And Dynan running just a great lap on that last one as well, as did Stavely, as did Terry, all in the 2:19s. The I mean, covered by what, 3/10?
Yeah, and the group behind them, Gables, Quinlan, and Courtney, the battle for the podium position in AM, they're all starting to run their personal best, so their cars are starting to come in a little bit stronger here. Just looks like Cooper's car is starting to come in. He just set his personal best first sector. So that's a good indicator for me, because the previous time through turn one, he was really struggling.
Well, let's get down to the pit lane and see if Ryan's got some more information on Mr. Cooper.
Well, there has been absolutely no panic in the Black Dog camp. Michael has been quiet on the radio, but nothing that they've seen has come as a surprise so far, even with Michael coming under the pressure from Spencer there a couple of laps ago. I talked to Ray Sorensen briefly, and he said, you know, we thought, as Calvin alluded to earlier, that the cooler temperatures would really play into the Porsche's favor, and perhaps that has something to do with this. But as far as Michael's performance and the way that the car is handling, they've got no complaints. Everything going according to plan, at least up to this point.
Yeah. Michael Cooper up on his first and second sector. See what he comes across the line at. His previous best was a 2:19.3. Improves on that a little bit, a 2:19.30. So yeah, I think the car is starting to come in a little bit for him.
And Dynan has now gapped Stavely a little bit, and it's just a couple of car lengths away from these guys. So Pumpelly in that LaSalle Solutions Racers Group, Racing Series Wines, Adobe Winery, Porsche, he is might soon find himself in a sandwich here, because Dynan has just been, you know, we talked earlier about Quinlan and some of these drivers we watched evolve. I think Dynan might be the poster boy for that with what we're seeing from his speed.
Yeah, he showed speed last year, but with the switch to the Aston Martin chassis over the off-season has really paid dividends, and he's working great with Robbie Foley, who he co-drives with in the Sprint X Championship as well. Great mentor, great sounding board, and the team have just really found a great setup on this car. As I said, he's had 6 wins on the year, just like Cooper, and Pumpelly's just hanging with him.
Yeah, he sure is.
Just in that, just half a car length too far back to make a move. Let's see if he does anything surprising here on Michael Cooper, but Cooper just seems to be under control right now, just managing this, although I'm sure he'd like to have a couple of seconds gap back to Spencer. One little mistake and Spencer is so close, he's going to take advantage.
Let's put something in perspective here. Cooper's last lap at 2:19.309. AM driver Dynan at 2:19.313.
Yeah, no, he's right there. And confidence is high, and it continues to get better every weekend. Spencer a little bit wide there through the kink.
He's full on commitment, isn't he?
Yeah, it's really, I love these GT4 cars. They're not as aero dependent as the GT3 cars, and it allows you to run in close proximity to the car in front of you without really losing too much of your downforce.
Dynan now has basically just joined this battle. Stavely a little over a second adrift, and he's starting to feel a little bit of pressure from Paul Terry. Then there's a gap back to Gaples, third in the AM Class 6 overall, and Quinlan and Courtney. Ooh. Stavely back in, swinging around big time at the exit of 14.
He's got a good run here. Key for him is how racy does he want to get. You know, I'm sure from a satisfaction standpoint, it'd be great to take it to the big boys, the pros, Cooper and Pumpelly, but he's got to really still factor into that championship, even though he's got a massive 47-point lead over Paul Terry right now. You at least want to get to that point in the race, 75% where you're scoring points, before you start thinking of getting too racy here today.
Keeping an eye on Dynan right now, and then behind him, as we said, Stavely and Terry. Oh, and Spencer showed the nose big time down to the inside into 5. Realized he wasn't going to be able to get alongside enough, and checked out of it. But he's certainly showing he is not going quietly here, that's for sure.
Yeah, and just maybe correcting myself here, it's 6 in a row for Cooper and 7 on the year. So he's looking for his 7th consecutive win and 8th on the season. So just remarkable. But Pumpelly is not going to let this one come easy to him.
No.
It's a big step up in performance here today, and Spencer's just got to try and figure out a solution to where Michael is placing the car on the racetrack. I mean, Michael's strong enough in the brake zones that even though Spencer's really good, he doesn't have enough of an advantage to make a move yet. McLaren's a little bit heavier, so to see if that plays into the tire degradation factor over the later stages of this race.
Well, and to that end, of course, the best thing Pumpelly can do, as long as it isn't taking too much out of his tires, is just keep the pressure on Cooper.
Yeah.
Make him really use those tires hard. And that's exactly what Spencer's doing.
But just to be in this much of a battle right now, but just to be so consistent with executing your sectors and your lap times, it's just, this is racing at the highest level. Sure, we'd like to see them be dicing it a little bit more cut and thrust, but even so, the lap times are tremendous.
Ooh, really got to run out of 14 that time. And Dynan actually is closed up just a little bit. This is where Spencer rolls big speed.
How's that slightly shallower turn-in point compared to both Michael and Cooper and Michael Dynan?
Yes. Well, in that lap, it looked like he turned in a little earlier than he had been into 14, and that may have cost him a little bit on the exit, giving Cooper that a little bit of a margin. Good battle here. This is Quinlan in the blue and orange, Stephen Cameron Racing, Cameron Race Products BMW, being hounded by Wisconsin native Jeff Courtney in the wreck stuff Kenda Tire Mercedes. Tony's doing a really nice job. He's opened a margin up over these guys.
Yeah, big time. That is a tremendous performance by Tony Gaples. Now has a 7-second gap over Quinlan.
He commented that missing VIR in Sonoma, he said, boy, did that reinvigorate the old competitive juices.
Yeah, and it's like many things in life, until you don't have it any longer, you don't realize how much you really enjoyed it. And I think Tony being on the sidelines made him appreciate how much he loved driving a race car, and has given him a new passion. And it's not just about being back for this weekend. I think he's made a statement to the effect that I'm back for the long haul. I'm going to be in this sport for a long time.
And that's good news indeed. Good little battle here between Jason Hall, who didn't run yesterday, and right behind him is Christopher Gumprecht. That's the NOLA Sport and the CG Racing teams.
Hall's done a really nice job. This Gumprecht gets a little bit sideways there coming off of turn 8, so it doesn't look like his car is the happiest of places right now.
And for Hall, who didn't run yesterday, he is doing a really nice job here.
This is the big challenge here, just sucking it up to get through the kink. Use those curbs a little bit, but not too much. And we've had a lot of rain earlier in this weekend, torrential here yesterday morning, so that grass, if you should run out, is very slick, and it's not going to help the cause any.
Not going to abate much speed over there in the grass for sure.
The racetrack and the facility has never looked better. Every year you come here, Greg, it continues to evolve and improve in terms of the all the facilities for the fans who have shown up here this weekend. First time we've had fans on site since the lockdown for the COVID situation. So great to see a few fans dotted around the racetrack this weekend. They not have access to the paddock and you know, mixing with the drivers and the crews as they normally would, but nonetheless they can be here on site and enjoy these beautiful race cars.
Well, this is America's National Park of Speeds. Even if you can't get into the paddock, you can sit out in this park-like setting and enjoy things. And Michael Dynan is certainly enjoying the run he's putting together right now in the AM category, Ryan.
Doing an awesome job, as he has been doing all season long here, though, hanging with that top two of the big names in GT4 racing here in Pirelli GT4 America. And for a young guy like Michael Dynan, I think the respect of his peers has really been growing over the course of this season. In fact, it seems like this weekend I've had more drivers within this series come up to me and tell me, you know, that Michael Dynan, he's really figured this out. He's running really well, and we're very impressed. And for a young guy like Michael, who burst onto the scene last year, maybe didn't have exactly the kind of debut season he was looking for, to really put that behind him, reinvent himself in a lot of ways, and earn that respect from some of the established names within this paddock. That has to be pretty gratifying, not just for him, but also for his driver coach Robbie Foley, for Darren Law, and the rest of the Flying Lizard group that have really helped to shepherd him along. It's been pretty remarkable to see what he's done, as you guys have talked about throughout the broadcast so far.
Well, you're right, Ryan. He clearly likes this Aston Martin package, but you still have to have the car set up. You got to have the understanding of what to do. So, Dynan's success is certainly due in large part as well to the car that the team continues to prepare for.
Absolutely, and a little move here. Courtney has gotten around Sean Quinlan, and that's brought Jason Bell into the action as well. Talked about in recent weekends how busy Jason has been, running in 3 different races, and with the triple headers that adds up to 8 races for a weekend. But he's been super disciplined, and I feel he's making less and less mistakes as this season is wearing on. So the seat time has been good for him, even though he's got to be really up on his toes in terms of switching between the different cars, particularly between this GT4 machine and the GT2 car that he'll power around this race circuit this weekend.
Yep, that GMG Porsche he's running here with Porsche Tampa support, Frost NYC, 13 Angry Men. He's a great supporter of this championship. As you said, just does Ironman duty here on these weekends where he's also running the GT2 car. And seat time is seat time, and the more you get, the better you're going to be.
It is, but there's a fatigue factor. I'm sure he's had to ramp up his training, and it's a cooler weekend here, so this should be a nice relief for him when he's so busy. But nonetheless, it just takes a lot to really focus in when you jump into a different car. Here we see a little battle here between Terry and Stavely. As
he's gone around Stavely.
Yeah, he has. Switch of positions there on that previous lap. So Stavely struggling here a little bit. Thought he'd be able to hang with Spencer and Cooper, but as you can see, the gap is getting wider.
Yep, and that back end of that Mustang looks to be slipping around a lot more than I'm sure Drew would like.
We've said it on numerous occasions now that, you know, a lot of people think that the Mustang is just really a big horsepower car. It's not the case with this GT4 platform. They've got a lot of downforce in this car. It's really good into the brake zones. I thought it would have been a good car here this weekend, but so far it's not really showing the pace of the leaders.
Ryan, what's the update for Drew?
Well, Calvin, you just addressed the main topic of conversation when I had a conversation with Drew Stavely just before this race. He was saying, you know, you look at this Mustang and you expect it to be kind of a horsepower grunt race car, and that's not really the case. He says the handling is tremendous. They're great under the brakes and also in the twisty stuff, but they're actually, according to Drew, down about 10 miles per hour on the straightaways, guys.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Just Paul Terry just spun it right in front of Drew coming through turn 14, and Drew did a brilliant job of evading.
Brakes
Terry.
are working on the Mustang.
Yeah, brakes are working real well. It's another look at it here. You can finish your thought in just a second, Ryan. But yeah, watching Drew as he comes through, and I heard the chatter, and then the camera opens up, and there he is. And Drew, he got that thing just parked.
And Stavely kind of did the right thing, aim for the car. Is eventually going to.
I was just going to say that. Aim for where the car is.
Yeah.
And he did that, but boy, Terry had a great drive going and just continued to up the ante and pushed it just that little bit too far. But Ryan, was there more to add on the Stavely scenario?
Yeah, just a little bit. He was talking to me about the handling of the race car being good, just the frustration of not being able to hang on the straightaways here. He did say year to year this team has really got its head around this Mustang platform and this racetrack in particular, that the handling is much better than it was last year, and maybe that's where some of the frustration trickles in, because you've got a car that feels good in the corners but can't put the lap time together.
Absolutely. All right, thank you for that. And while you were doing that, we saw down into turn 5 again. Pumpelly down to the inside of Cooper. Cooper didn't make it easy on him, kept a tight exit. It looked like he had to pinch it a little bit, and that Porsche was sideways.
Yeah, and we saw the end result there, and that's exactly what I've been thinking about. You know, you get to that place where it's just a little bit too far back, and then Michael just gives him just enough room. Spencer's up on the curb a little bit, tries to pinch it. Just really great, respectful driving there by Pumpelly. He could have leaned on Michael at that stage of the corner and decided not to. And just by tightening his hands a little bit, suddenly broke the rear end out a little bit. So he's got to regroup here and try and get back on his tail. But certainly Spencer's car looks like it's got a bit more pace.
It does.
He's back up on the wheel and closing back in again. He's just that fraction too far back. And he forced it that time, but couldn't quite get there. And with Michael, he's just so cool in those situations and just lets it develop. Doesn't give up on it, doesn't get too aggressive or closes the door. Just makes the other driver try and finish the task.
And well, just to put it, comment on the AM thing, while Terry was recovering, Tony Gaples went through and picked up second in the AM class, in the second of the Black Dog light helmets McLaren. So there's two of them right now in the top 5 on Tony's return. And look at this, Spencer didn't take him long. He's closing right back in again on Michael.
Yeah, I really feel that he's got the better race car here today. So that start was so important for Michael Cooper to out-drag Spencer to that first corner to start this race and then just basically try and control it. But Spencer realizes that with a 40-point lead now in this championship, he cannot afford to see that balloon up any further. His rounds are running out rapidly.
Not close enough at this stage down to turn 5, but the way he's reeling Cooper in, maybe the next time down into 5 he'll have an opportunity.
Yeah, this could be a really good lap for Spencer Pumpelly because he's not close enough to be compromising his line based on where Michael is on the racetrack. And Porsche still seems to be working well, so the TRG, the Sal Solutions group have worked hard on this car. Despite Spencer's frustrations this morning when I communicated with him, he's certainly up to the task here and wants to get that victory here. Been a happy hunting ground for the TRG group over the years, so Leilev coming up here and Kevin Buckler in the group always put on a tremendous performance.
Quinlan now feeling the pressure from Jason Bell as Courtney is, after he got through, he has opened up a little bit of a margin. Entrance into the carousel, so many iconic corners here and landmarks as well. The Speedville Bridge, the Sargento Bridge. This place is
it's just
loaded with history.
It is, and it's just a great lap. I mean, every corner has got a lot of meat on the bone. You know what I mean? There's just no giveaway corners at this place. Every corner has its unique challenges, and it just continues to build. Racetrack's a little bit older in terms of its surface, so it doesn't have the grip that it once had, but nonetheless still very raceable. Spencer, as you can see, he gets close enough to him. He picks up that draft, and right here is where he's able to roll speed, but Michael just really focuses on a good, clean exit rather than trying to overdrive the corner. I think what Michael is doing right now is really very disciplined and showing his experience by, okay, the car is not exactly what I'd like to have underneath me, but let's not make a mistake. Just maximize the grip that it's giving me.
Well, let's see if he gets any kind of a tow, Spencer, from the back of this McLaren, and he's got something down into turn 5 again. I don't think he's quite close enough, Cal.
No, it's just that frustrating margin. You can come into those break zones just absolutely determined, I'm going to outbrake this guy. You just recognize you get, no. He senses you're just not close enough. You can't make it happen.
Well, he's tried him a few times in 5, so you'd think maybe it'd be another corner where he'll try and surprise him. 8, it could be a nice overtaking spot.
If you're not going to make it clean, though, it'd be so easy to tip someone around. Yes. And he, you know, as frustrated as he is that the tear that Michael Cooper's been on, he certainly has a lot of respect for him. He wants to beat him worse than you can imagine, but he still doesn't want to do it in a way where there's going to be contact.
Yeah, Oberlin and Whitmer in the Sprint X race yesterday in turn 8 is a classic example of what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's when you've got two really competitive drivers and competitive cars, it's hard to get enough of an advantage unless someone just gives it up. To make it clean, you're typically going to be bumping fenders a little bit. just feel that Spencer's car is quicker, so track position was so important here at the start.
Jeff Courtney just turned his fastest lap of the race. He's got a lot of ground to make up to get to Terry. But Terry is also now, he's trying to run down Gaples, but Tony's throwing down some laps.
Yeah, he's matching him. He's actually a little bit quicker than Paul Terry. Tony Gaples is, so it's going to be a tough sled for Paul Terry to jump up one more position on the podium. Pelly there, you can just see him just looking for a way, trying to figure it out. I think, as you said, trying to surprise him is going to be the key. Maybe saving something for the final few laps to make the move and try and make it stick.
And that's the discipline that these pros have, isn't it? It's like, all right, I've got to make sure, take care of everything and have something to fight with in these last 10 minutes.
He's shown it. Oh, he got big roller speed through there as well. He's shown his hand a little bit down into turn 5, but the one thing you notice with Michael's lines is he's not compromised. He's not making those shallow entries to protect that inside line. Now, Spencer's closer than he's ever been through turn 7 there, so he could be looking for a move down into turn 8. We now focus on the second of the Black Dog Speed Shop cars. Tony Gaples running second in class right now.
All right, we'll keep an eye on what happened down into turn 8. Meanwhile, Ryan, what are you hearing about Gaples?
Well, Tony, as you said, is just relishing his chance to get back behind the wheel. But today, a bit more difficult. Yesterday, he really felt like he had the car to his liking. He's been chasing the balance throughout the race here today, which makes the performance that he's been putting on even more impressive. Not totally happy with the behavior of that race car, and nevertheless making his way towards the front of the M class.
Yeah, really putting in some nice laps, particularly in light of what you've just informed us of. And Terry, that last lap was a little bit quicker, but he's still got a lot of ground he's going to have to make up here. Looks as though Tony might be he's running a little bit quicker even than Stavely right now.
Yeah, and only a 10th off of Michael Dinan's lap on the previous one. So, yeah, consistency's there. Maybe it's not feeling that great underneath, but certainly his lap times look good and consistent.
Here are top 5 speeds powered by AWS, and it's currently the number 11 of Gaples. These are speeds at the kink, and that's pretty quick right there. The Quinlan car, the BMW, second quick up, and then the Spencer's Porsche. Here he is again. And it's a fascinating duel. It's a lot of rinse and repeat, isn't it, in terms of what we see every lap. And Spencer's attack and his efforts, I mean, it's all spectacular, but boy, you got to give credit to Cooper. He hasn't flinched.
He hasn't blinked.
Yeah.
He really has not. It's phenomenal to be under this sort of pressure, but he just seems to be able to absorb that. Doesn't seem to phase him whatsoever. Just found the sweet spot this year with the car. Had some technical issues early in the weekend at VIR, but they rebounded overnight and came back to sweep the final 2 rounds there, and then cleaned up at Sonoma Raceway despite Spencer's best efforts. Again, it seems like the Porsche over one lap can put a lap together, but the raceability factor in terms of having the speed in the right places to go race with is what they've been fighting a little bit this year compared to the McLaren.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Watching him through the carousel. I want to clarify something I said earlier when I said Mark Glenn is not racing. It was more of a technical thing. Well, he did have the off and got into the barriers at turn 8, so when the damage, I guess, became a technical thing, but that was an off he had. But it was in some sketchy conditions, that damp and drying track, and I think on a day like today, this would have been a place where that sin would have been pretty effective, so I'm sure Mark in that Premier Copier entry is a little bit frustrated to be watching. Here's a look at Michael Dinan. Right now has a very comfortable lead in the M category, 3rd overall.
Yeah, another strong weekend for Michael. And early stages of this race was staying in the shadows of those 2 leaders, but settled back in. Just focus now on the class win and try and extend that points lead, which is pretty massive at this stage of the game.
Well, I think that's you got to have a little big picture thinking, and that's part of the learning curve for a young AM driver to understand. I don't need to risk here, trying to stay with those guys when I've got a huge lead in my class. Ooh, Spencer was close enough to actually show a little nose. Down to 1.
He just gets on the power that much earlier than Michael. You can hear it from the high camera there that Spencer's just into the power, but Michael just sits in the middle of the road. And just with the wide exit that Pumpelly has, just doesn't have enough time to transition back and line up down at the inside for turn 3. So Michael Cooper just seems very confident and capable just to sit there and let Spencer make all of these moves.
Spencer's close.
Now he's close, really close.
He's going for it.
Oh, there could be contact here. And he gets through.
Ooh.
Beautiful move there. Nice job by Spencer.
Yeah, and Cooper wanted to do the over-under, and the back end of the McLaren rotated around, and that just stopped that. What a move by Pumpelly. And I mean, that was, Cooper gave him enough room between the inside of the track and Cooper's car for a Porsche and a couple sheets of paper.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be contact, but that wasn't factoring Michael Cooper's savviness to just give him just enough to get through. Couldn't do the over-under, as you said, on the run up the hill. So now the key is going to be for Spencer through this sector here. We're still talking in the handling department. Look at him, he's gapping the McLaren in a little bit. And that's going to be important so that Michael Cooper doesn't get a run down to Canada corner on him.
I tell you, I love watching two pros of this caliber and that kind of execution in that pass. That close, no contact. As you said, you never have to make it easy on the guy who's passing. You just got to make it possible, and Cooper gave him just enough room.
He did, but look at this, he's awfully close, and we know that Michael Cooper has a slight advantage up the long pull up the front straightaway. So these next couple of corners are going to be really crucial for Spencer Pumpelly to not allow Cooper to get so close that he can just draft up on him as they cross the stripe.
There's another look at it.
Michael could see he was a little bit close. It doesn't give him a lot of room, but Spencer's right on the white line there. Right here, I thought there could have been contact, but Michael just stays out of the way. And by doing that, he couldn't respond with the throttle and get back to power early enough to even be close to making a move.
All right, here it is, the duel into one. And Spencer's been able to, as you said, float huge speed. So if he can lead into one, he should be able to gap him a little bit coming out. And does exactly that. Boy, that was huge for him to fend Cooper off on that long straight.
Yeah, he's got 12 minutes to deal with now. The key is going to be tires. He's been pushing hard. Michael's car seems to be not quite as quick, but certainly not sliding around any. So providing Spencer doesn't lose any balance with the race car in the later stages, he's got the track position now, which has been the key all day long. But he knows that Michael's got a little bit more straightaway speed, so he can't afford to relax any. Cooper now, obviously, as he tries to respond from being behind for the first time in both races here this weekend.
And I know that, you know, when you get up on a curb and it really shakes things through the suspension of the car, can knock the brake pucks back a little bit. But I see Cooper a lot exiting a turn, tapping on it. I wonder if maybe that the braking isn't quite where he wants it, and he's got to adjust for that.
Yeah, I saw him do that really early in the race, though, so I think that's just the way that he has to make sure the pedal's there when he needs it. It's a great point, though, when you do run the curbs a lot, just that oscillation through the car will push the brake caliper pistons back a little bit, so that when you do go to the brake pedal, it's got to push those out further so you get a long brake pedal can catch you out. Really good run through Canada there.
There's the TRG pit, the racers group.
Liking what they see right now. Haven't had a lot to smile about recently, so it's a nice picture for them to watch Spencer increase that gap at the front.
There's Dynan continuing with that big, big margin he's got in the AM category. Gaples still sits third. And Terry, in all this time we've been talking about it, he's taken maybe a second off of Gaples. So Tony doing a brilliant job.
There's Jim Bell and the Flying Lizard group looking on. What a season they've put together.
Boy, yeah.
Michael has responded. I mean, talking to Darren Law early last year, he said, well, Michael's got a lot of speed. He's just got to learn how to race. And we saw him have a couple of issues last year, but just really settled down, came back strong at the end of the year. And when they made the decision to switch to the Aston Martin platform in the off-season, it's paid dividends immediately. And he's been working hard. He does a lot of sim work with Robbie Foley in terms of learning the racetracks and just learning the discipline to be consistent. And the confidence is growing every week.
I think that's where those sims are probably at their most valuable, isn't it? Is you can learn a racetrack in terms of, okay, which way it goes. So when you get to the track, if you haven't been there before, don't have a lot of laps on it, you don't have to take time away from setup work to learn it, and then they can just start dialing the car up right away.
Yeah, and I think also helps you focus. I mean, driving a race car, you know, lap after lap is easy when you're kind of running around by yourself like he is. He had no real pressure from behind today, so Michael Dinan sitting in his own little vacuum there. It's just to maintain that focus, and when you're doing sim work, it can get laborious, and I mean, there's certainly a fun factor to it, but when you put in laps and laps and laps and hours, it's really just demanding that consistency and not making a mistake. You see there on the right side of our screen, Kevin Buckler poring over the data, just seeing where the edge is that his driver has right now. And despite their struggles this year, Kevin Buckler has not lost faith in Spencer Pumpelly one bit. He believes he is the fastest driver in this paddock. And that's what's frustrated him, that he feels that he's put all of the tools together and all of the ingredients, and in his mind they should be dominating like Michael Cooper has been dominating and
yes.
Ray Sorensen in that group. So that's just what they expect when you're performing at this sort of level.
And of course, conversely, Ray Sorensen and that group believe they should be dominating with a Michael Cooper. So as you said, always different perspectives. But yeah, you're right. And I mean, it's just a joy to have two drivers of this caliber in this class, in this paddock, in dueling like they have been all year.
Yeah, and what you should be seeing is what we've seen today, where it's really trading punches. You know what I mean? It's not anyone driving off into the distance. It's each driver performing at the highest level, and just that great move that Spencer made down into turn 5 has given him the lead, and just 7 minutes left to try and defend it.
And going back to Sonoma, where Cooper had that three-peat, but he had started second spot in that first race, and it was a brilliant move in the opening lap up through 1 and 2 that gave him the lead. And he said, if I don't execute that, and I'm following Spencer at that point, he said, I don't know that I would have been able to get fast lap. He said, and I would have started second again. And he said, if I don't get that move done there, it may have been 3 seconds at Sonoma. He said, the competition's that close.
Yeah, it's it can turn the tide, and it did that weekend. And we've seen over the years that even when they were struggling with the McLaren early last year, it was the opening laps where Michael's ability on cold tires really came to the forefront and was really getting results with that car that they shouldn't really have had, because they didn't have the setup and didn't have the speed built into it just yet, as they were learning the ropes with that car. But nonetheless, he was building strong points on what were potentially going to be, weak days. And that's what you need to do, is to execute and maximize the score, whether it's for a win or whether 5th place or 3rd place is all you can achieve on a certain day. Make sure you execute to the highest level.
6 minutes to go here in this 10th round of the Pirelli GT4 America Sprint Championship. Spencer Pumpelly and the LaSalle Solutions Racers Group, Adobe Wines and Racing Series Wines Porsche. This is about as big a lead as we've seen him have through turn 14, Cal, over Cooper.
Yeah, and that's a nice comfort factor to have, because the McLaren will come back out a little bit down the straightaway, but should allow Spencer just to hit his marks, not compromise his line any, to try and complete these final 3 laps.
That time, Pumpelly about a tenth quicker. Now Chris Gumprecht down into the pits in that CG Racing Mercedes-AMG GT4. Again, made his debut with the series at VIR and showed a good turn of speed in the AM class there. Didn't make the trip to Sonoma. Great to have him back with us here.
See, Seems like he was struggling a bit with the handling when we were
Yeah.
focusing on him on the racetrack, Greg, so maybe he's just using it as a bit of a test session here, just trying to get the car dialed in a little bit for tomorrow.
It looked like they may have been making some pressure adjustments on those rears at least, as we saw that car pretty tail happy through turn 8.
Yes.
There's Mr. Dinan, Mike Dinan. What a story he has become this year. He's put a almost 11-second gap between himself and Drew Stavely.
Yeah, and that's a driver who's coming off an AM championship last year and now running with the best of the pros. So quite the statement. He's certainly not been able to hang with Cooper and Spencer Pumpelly through the second half of this race, but nonetheless another really solid performance.
And Tony Gaples has upped the ante. He's opened that margin over Terry now to over 6 seconds, running almost a second quicker than Terry on that last lap. And it's brought him to within 2.2 seconds of Stavely.
Yeah, I mean, Tony's such a great racer. Looking at their ultimate best lap times here today,
There
he's
it
not
is.
quite with Dinan or Paul Terry, but nonetheless, just the consistency and monotonous, just repeating the laps. Tony Gaples has done a tremendous job. He always races better than he qualifies. That's kind of been his mantra over the years. But still quite the return, Evan. Not seen any action since March at Circuit of the Americas.
He was often the perennial winner of what they used to call the Hard Charger Award. And whenever he'd get the award at the end of the year at the banquet, he'd always start his speech with, well, we all know what this really means is it's the bad qualifier award.
The most improved driver, right?
Exactly.
He started off from a really low point.
But I looked at him once and I said, well, wouldn't you rather have get an award for maybe not qualifying so well, but being a superb racer, as opposed to being a guy who qualifies well and then just drops in the field? And he went, well, that's a good point. And I went, yeah, you should be proud of the way you race. You know, not everybody is that one-lap flyer person, but he gets in race mode. He's really strong.
Yeah, he's 8/10 quicker on that lap to Drew Stavely, so Stavely just really seems to be struggling here today. So going to be some midnight oil burnt on that team to try and find the pace back in that Ford Mustang.
This is one of Jason Bell. I'm really impressed with his run. He's chasing Quinlan for 5th, and we've talked about the amount of track time Jason's getting and jumping between GT2 cars of almost 700 horsepower and very little aero in these cars. But we've watched Sean Quinlan, who's really become just a really talented AM driver, and Bell is matching him right now. In fact, closing on him.
I just love the discipline because
Yes.
we've seen Jason display speed over the years, but you know, the odd mistake has really cost him some great results. But this year he just seems to be right there, consistent, knocking down the results, and particularly in Sprint X format with Andrew Davis, who's one of the best in the field. They're a really great combination together. Had some technical issues yesterday with the car when we fired during a pit stop in the Sprint X competition, but hoping for better things here later today.
Well, the consistency that he's matching with speed for Jason Bell on the AM side of the equation has often left Davis in a really good position when he gets in the car to do something with it. And that doesn't happen if you're not consistently decently fast, and that's where Bell, I think, has really stepped up.
For sure, but looking at this battle here, Michael Cooper hasn't given up on this one just yet, so he's now ringing every ounce of speed out of the McLaren as they start the last lap.
This is it. White flag out, round 10, starting its final lap. The margin from the 2 leaders, 0.29. Cooper's looking to the inside into one. He closed it up dramatically, Cal.
Yeah, let's see if he's got any surprises for Spencer Pumpelly here on this final lap. That'd be the ultimate display of keeping everything under your hat until the finish.
Well, there's the exit of 3 and the long run down the Moraine sweep. No.
He's closing.
Yeah,
He's
he
got to
is.
run. He's got to run. Spencer's going to have to watch that inside line here. Here comes Michael Cooper. Flashes to the outside, into the brake zone for turn 5. Too close, tries to cut underneath him. Can he get the power down early?
Not enough. Whoa, where does he? Oh boy,
He's going
here
for
we
it.
go. Cooper's there. Spencer's going to park on his outside. There's a touch. Spencer's sideways. Spencer's still there. He's fighting back into 7. And Cooper had to give it to him or he was going to run straight into that grass, Cal.
Talk about two of the best in the business putting it all on the line here for victory at Road America. Pumpelly continues to lead as they head out of turn 8 and head towards the carousel.
We know Cooper's speed in a straight line, but Spencer has been able to really roll a little bit more through the kink, and he's going to need every bit of that here down into Canada Corner, Cal.
I think Spencer Pumpelly was willing to make that garage sale up in the hills rather than let Cooper get that one, but Cooper's still there. One last chance down into the break zone for Canada Corner. Can he surprise him?
You can see right there, Spencer got about a car length through the kink.
See those brake lights flash just a little bit. So he uses the left foot to just get that brake pressure there and get the pedal up. What a battle. That was a chess match and a half, 2 corners to go.
There you go, well, and that long climb up the hill. Spencer, that's going to kill his momentum. I think Cooper had to check up because he didn't know where Spencer was going to end up. Another slide by Spencer. It's drag race time up the hill. It's a long way to that finish line. Cooper's coming. He's closing. Spencer might just have enough in hand. He does! Pumpelly, the Racers Group LaSalle Solutions, get the win. Round 10 at Road America with Porsche. What a race.
What a final lap.
Oh, my.
That was something else between two of the absolute best in the business and Michael Dinan.
He brings home, I think, his 7th win of the year. Just a remarkable run for him for Flying Lizard in that Aston Martin. Dinan continuing his strong form. Tony Gaples got by Stavely on the last lap.
Wow.
Finishes 4th overall, 2nd in class.
Awesome
in
run
the Black
for
Dog
Tony.
McLaren. Wow.
That was fabulous.
Some great stuff throughout the field. And Paul Terry completes the podium in the AM category with his 6th overall run in the Paul Terry Truck and Reardon Aston Martin. Then it should be Courtney and Quinlan. Unless Jason Bell had something to say about it. Here it is. This is the battle for 5th and AM. Looks like Quinlan's going to have just enough and hangs on. An incredibly persistent Jason Bell. But, yeah.
Celebrating where he made the move.
But he has been waiting to do that.
Another race left this weekend. Don't burn it down, Spence.
2 wins now. It was only his 2nd win on the season.
He was feisty.
Yeah.
I could tell from the communication I got from him this morning. He was not a happy camper.
Yeah.
And he was determined today. But Michael Cooper was equally determined to try and get that lead back. And those few corners from 5 all the way up through this one was something else.
That was brilliant. I think maybe he didn't want to take a run at your record for most 2nd places in the season.
That'd be tough to catch.
What a race. Just brilliant. There's Tony Gaples, man. Just be lovely to get his thoughts on that drive he put in today after missing 2 races for eye surgery, which is always a spooky thing, you know, in any case, but for a race car driver, and to answer that question so firmly with, oh yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Just
well,
brilliant.
the key is he's come back with more speed. Sometimes eye surgery is like, whoa, I'm scared.
I'm seeing those apexes better now. That's great. Well, here, look at the results. Again, the black on white, the 3 pro category cars. Margin of victory, 0.2 of a second after a brilliant last lap and great race by both. And then white on red is your AM category, Dinan and Gaples. And you can see the margin that Dinan had there. Just a remarkable run for him. And Stavely, then Terry ending up completing the podium, then Courtney, Quinlan rounding out the top 5. And again, Mason Clennon and Burt not starting here, so wow, that was a fun one.
That was a great race. Really, really cool. Wonderful race circuit, perfect conditions, and it doesn't get much better than that. Great battle by Michael Cooper. He gave it 1,000,000%, just came up a little short on Spencer today. But that's what we expect from these 2 drivers in this battle for the championship. And importantly for Spencer, what would have been a 47-point lead now comes back to 33. So Michael's happy with that. He gave it 1,000,000%, and some days you just get beat, but it was not by much, right?
No, and the thing was there was ample opportunity for these two guys to get into each
Yeah.
other and spin, and especially up in turn 6 when Spencer said, "I'm staying around the outside." Cooper could have run right to the exit there, and he gave him again just enough room where Spencer was able to hang on, get the inside into 7. And at 7, I think you were right. Had Cooper tried to run the outside there, Spencer was going to say, "Yeah."
Yeah, that's as hard-nosed
Yeah.
as you can get with the racing without it getting ugly.
Yes.
And
It was.
really hats off to both these drivers. That was 10-tenths racing, the highest level. The fact that they gapped Michael Dinan, who's doing a great job here today, really puts it all into perspective.
Yeah. There's Michael. What a race he put together. Hops out of the car. Has a chat with Cabrew. All right, here we go. There's some looks here from pole. Belly leads him up the hill, but once again, Michael Cooper was able to jump and get into the early lead. And
He
Dinan
was.
right around everybody in the field.
Yeah, and that frustrated Spencer. He kept the heat on. Some good moves early. You see Jeff Courtney there down at the inside in the white and blue Kendra Mercedes.
Yeah. But he didn't get a great exit. Tony was able to come right back after him and get through there.
Spencer was looking early. Couldn't make a stick on that first run into turn 5, but made it a little bit later on.
Then, interesting thing here for Drew Stavely, just didn't seem to have the speed, comes out and right in front of him, Terry loops it, and Drew did a brilliant job staying out of that. Then here's the pass.
Down to the inside. He tried it earlier and it just couldn't quite pull it off, and finally gets to the front, gets the clean air on the front end. But then they start going side by side here. This is a little bit later, side by side through 5, 6, 7. And finally Cooper has to give it up.
And here was the run to the finish by 2/10 of a second. And Spencer doing some donuts to celebrate a win in round 10. And making his way over to the interview area where he'll have a chat with Ryan Marine in just a few minutes. But boy,
He's got to be satisfied with
Yeah.
that one. That was just tremendous.
yeah, that was 110% from two of the very best.
Yeah,
That was a delight. It's the Big Victory Circle stage at Road America.
special place to grab a win.
Yeah, it is indeed.
Your dinner will taste a little bit sweeter tonight.
All right. Well, we are ready. Ryan is ready, so let's hear from our second-time winner.
That's right, second win of the season. To talk about a hard-fought win for Spencer Pumpelly, let's go to that last lap. How much commitment did it take to keep Michael at bay?
Let's go back to the start. I mean,
Okay.
I thought after yesterday I would try full throttle this time, but I must have forgotten again. I don't know. But we got in a good race. He seemed to be quicker in spots of the track than we were. And it took a lot to get by when you're that far back at the end of the straightaway. You got to make some pretty aggressive moves, and I did. I was lucky Michael didn't turn in. Maybe he was in too hot too, but he probably gave me more room than I deserved. So hats off to him for that. But and then for the rest of the way, it was a good race. And that last lap, the medium-sized speck in the mirror got to be a big one, and we had to fight all the way. I thought about blocking into 6, but I don't like to block. So I ran the outside. I gave him a car within an inch, and I think the inch kind of went away, but it was good, fair racing. I was on the inside for the next one and was able to take it home. But, great job by the TRG guys. We have a really good car. We just got to figure out how to get those starts a little bit better. Maybe full throttle sooner, I don't know.
This is obviously crucial with the championship in mind as well. Do you think about that at all? Does that provide some inspiration in some of those battles?
It's kind of hard to think championship at this point. I just like to lead into turn 1 once, but we'll see. I mean, the guys are working as hard as they can. Our chassis are great. I'm really happy. I don't think we damaged it much, but I know the guys might have to maybe shine it up a little from the light contact. But no, I'm just happy with TRG guys, LaSalle Solutions, everyone who's here to support us. We finally got some of our sponsors able to come and join us for this, so it's happy to do it in front of them. Steve and Violet are here. They're awesome. And all the guys at TRG. And big hats off to everyone.
Now we got one more chance to try and lead them into turn 1 tomorrow. We wish you the best of luck.
Wish me luck. Let me know if you have any tips.
Spencer Pumpelly, everyone.
Yeah, that was It was a fabulous pass, and he's right. And as he went through, when you watch the replay, when Cooper turned in thinking about coming back at him, you see the back end step out just a little bit, and I think that was just enough. But, boy, what an amazing race between two of the very, very best. And the guy he's proving to be maybe a future guy in the very best category is Michael Dinan.
No question about it. Another dominant performance from Michael Dinan here today. A win in the AM class, and for a lot of that race, you were kind of mixing it up with the top two overall as well. How far along do you feel you've come, looking back on this event last year to today? Just how much more confident are you coming into a race weekend?
Yeah, for sure. And obviously this season I've had some great results, so that definitely helps my confidence. I've done a bit of testing here in the past. Hasn't gone so well, to be honest, so to be producing these results here this weekend definitely is helping my confidence out in general, but also here at Road America.
Another excellent performance today. Best of luck the rest of the weekend.
Thank you, appreciate it. See you around.
Yeah, that was just a dominant clinic he put on in AM.
He really did, and he blows out that championship lead even further. Be up to mid 50-point range, so yeah, he's going to be tough to beat for this championship, and continues to execute.
You had to take the socks off and count those points. Yeah, it's a big one. Here's a look at the results at AM, and what a weekend, what a comeback weekend for Tony Gables.
Yeah, it's great to see him back, and 2 podium runs. So third yesterday, second today. Let's see what he can come back with overnight. He's got to find a bit of speed there to get on pace with Dinan and Terry, but nonetheless, a really, really solid performance by Tony.
Great performances all round here in this 10th round of the Pirelli GT4 America Sprint Championship from Road America. And the nice thing is, we got another one coming up tomorrow. So make sure you come back and join us for that. Very busy day yet to unfold here at Road America. So don't go too far away. And we are looking forward to a spectacular race again in this category tomorrow here at Road America.